Good morning, Gearfax friends. Gearfax is back with a vengeance. Look at this beautiful relic. We've got the JVC KB-700, complete with Perspex cover over all the controls. This is, I guess, one of the first home keyboards. JVC obviously doesn't make home keyboards anymore, so to find one in such fabulous condition is a real score for Gearfax, and I hope you enjoy this demo. Okay, there are quite a lot of features on this one, you'd be surprised, but I know a lot of you just want to hear the sounds and kind of move on, so I'm going to go through the 20 or so sounds that this thing has, and then we'll talk more about individual features from there. Rhythm section. Messing around with this CompuCorder section is very interesting. Let's just start a rhythm. So we've got a bit of a random chord pattern happening there. I really enjoyed that. Okay, so now that we've heard a good selection of the rhythms and the sounds of the JVC KB-700, let's take a closer tour. And this is going to take a while because there are a lot of knobs and sliders and a lot of connections and one or two surprises as well. First of all, just starting on the left, we've got the CompuCorder that we just looked at. It's a really strange chord sequencer, and you can set it up to sequence things, but I found it was the most fun to use it as a randomizer. And as you also saw, you can do a bit of on-the-fly sequencing using several of these buttons. Certainly not as the makers intended it to be used, but I enjoyed it. Down here we've got ways of controlling your accompaniment, which is in the pretty familiar array that you get with most keyboards today. There are one-finger modes and multi-finger modes of keeping your accompaniment completely in tune with your lead sound. Up here are some controls that I'm still kind of struggling to understand. Basically, they're just transposing and controlling the key of the accompaniment. You can switch some of the accompaniment sounds between piano and guitar here, although I was struggling to hear the difference, to be honest. And the 3 arpeggio variations. The top one is great, I think. It sounds very sort of 80s science fiction. I really enjoyed that. But the other 2 arpeggios are usable as well. And as you can see, you've got this wonderful metronome here. Again, very 80s in style. It's a shame that we don't use these LEDs as much as we used to in keyboard design, because they're so visible, they're so nice to look at, and very, very reliable. They last for years. In the middle it gets very interesting, and you could argue it's extremely over-engineered, but you've got to remember this is a keyboard of its times, and this would have been extremely advanced. So anyway, our accompaniments are made up of 6 tracks here, and we've got our lead track as well on the right. All of these can be mixed using these sliders that feel very solid and dependable. But what is really surprising and interesting, if you look here, there's a little divot right there, and you can open up, and inside there are more controls. You can actually pan each of these tracks as well. Considering the simplicity of these accompaniments, like I said, that seems incredibly over-engineered to me. I can't imagine what situation a musician would be in where they would want to fine-tune that accompaniment so tightly. But it certainly adds to the overall charm of this wonderful old instrument. Okay, next up we've got the effects section. You can connect 2 foot pedals to this keyboard, simultaneously. You can have an expression style pedal and a momentary or start-stop pedal. It looks like you can assign several different functions to these pedals, but unfortunately none of mine would talk to this keyboard, and that's a real shame because I wanted to try the sustain, bend and fill in functions, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to show you that. Then we've got a presence control, which is just like on a guitar amplifier. It sort of sharpens up your sound. Sustain for the bass and orchestral sections. Down here we have a mysterious function called ultra chord, another one that I wasn't able to figure out, I'm afraid. Then we've got 3 effects, stereo and ensemble. Basically that's just 2 forms of chorus. Then tremolo and orchestral sustain. I don't know why they don't just call that sustain, because that's all it is. Then we have our tone section. Pretty self-explanatory. You just press your switch in for the lower set of tones and up for the higher set of tones. You can also set this synth to do monophonic as well, which is great for soloing and is generally not a feature that you would expect to find on a home keyboard. So that was a nice surprise. And we've got some old favorite sounds here along the bottom as well. And this is where it starts to get interesting, guys. I love the JVC logo and that old 80s style font on the back for a start, but let's move down to the actual connections. We've got voltage changer there, so if you're in the USA or Japan or Europe or Australia, you can switch this to the correct voltage so you won't blow it out as soon as you plug it in. No power adapter for this one, it just takes a cable straight into the guts of the machine. As you can see, somebody's put a bit of liquid paper over the writing here to make it a bit easier to see, which is probably a good thing for this video. There you go, socket for a 12 volt adapter as well. So like I said, mains plug or adapter, you've got 2 options there. It also runs on batteries. Then we've got our headphone socket, left and right's out to the PA system, and the expression pedal socket that I mentioned earlier. But that is not where it ends. Let's flip it over on the side here. We've got microphone in, so basically this can work like a little amplifier as well. If you want to sing along with it, you've got a microphone in socket there too, with its own trim pot as well for adjusting mic volume. You can also fine tune the pitch of the keyboard, and there's that other foot switch socket I was telling you about. That's the start stop switch. One last nice little addition I'll show you on the side panels here is this JVC logo. It's not just printed on, it's a thing that you can actually feel, and I think that adds a really classy touch to the keyboard. Here's our battery array. Pretty heavy going, it takes 8 D-sized batteries. Wouldn't it be great if JVC came back at us again with some new keyboards, because this has been really fun and interesting. Thanks for liking the video or subscribing to Gear Facts, or even better still, leave a comment, because I'm always up for discussing vintage keyboards, guitar pedals, any kind of music gear really. As a finale to this video, I'm going to close this beautiful Perspex lid right here, which also serves as a sheet music holder. Feels so good. Thanks for watching Gear Facts.